The record kan?
Okay. Tak balik.
Recorder.
Okay. Assalamualaikum and a very good day to all of you. Welcome to our forum. As we all know, COVID-19 has affected all of our daily activities and students were one of those affected by this. Today, we would like to discuss a topic that is good to discuss on, challenges of being a first-year student as well as the things you have learned in your first year. I am sure all of us have something to say on this. Before we start our forum, I would like to introduce our panelists for today. Our first panelist is Ms. Nur Shahira Balkis from a first-year student of Bachelor English Language with Commerce. How are you, Ms. Shahira?
I'm good. Thanks for asking, Ms. Moderator.
Next, we also have our panel 2, Tengku Ivan Najia, as a first-year student of Bachelor English Language with Commerce. Before we start, let me explain a little bit about our topic. COVID-19 has caused schools to be closed due to it being classified as infectious disease. This forces students to start learning online. As a first-year student in university, they have to study online and have no chance to study in physical class. Not only our country, but many countries and schools have shifted to online learning during school's closure. This has caused many challenges of being a first-year student study online. Without wasting more time, let us hear first sharing from our first invited panel.
Thanks, Ms. Moderator. As a student who is in year 1 and faces entirely online learning at home, I face some challenges throughout online learning. I personally think that my experience with online learning is very stressful and hard. It doesn't make me confident because I want to make sure that I'm actually doing the assignment correctly in order to deserve the credit for it. I also feel it is the lack of motivation that makes online learning hard. I also had a problem with the high internet connection that is required for online learning. To be frank, I almost missed most of my classes due to a slow internet problem. In the area where I live, Celcom often has problems with the internet line, especially at night. And that's the time when I need a great connection to finish my assignments.
Thank you, Ms. Shahira. From your explanation, I do agree that online learning is tough for first-year students to cope with. Let's move to Ms. Ifa. What is your opinion?
Thank you, Ms. Moderator. I agree with Ms. Shahira. From the recent years I attended my classes online in university, I definitely can see that it impacted me in both positive and negative ways. Personally, and mainly, I felt like my experience was quite a hassle. I had a problem segregating my time for my studies. Most of the time, I was struggling balancing out my time for my family and my studies tasks, since I wanted to use my free time to help my parents with things at home. It could have been manageable, but I wasn't used to study at home since I was more accustomed to the studying environment at boarding school and college, where I can focus more on the things I am learning with the teachers and friends, instead of also taking care for my family. It took some time for me to be familiar, and it did took quite a lot of emotional and mental effort. Gratefully, I was able to complete the needs for my studies, even though I did not manage to do them excellently like my other classmates.
Thank you, Ms. Ifa. That was a great point to be said. What advice do you have for us, Ms. Shahira, on how to overcome changes of online learning?
Here are some points of my view. These are a few solutions that I use to overcome the challenges I face. As I mentioned before, I find that online learning is very hard for me to study on my own. The things I do are I stick to a study plan for effective learning. Sometimes I take a break and resume back to learning with the same interest and enthusiasm, always making sure that I am positive about online learning. I make use of the time in the best way and gain knowledge for better learning outcomes. I also went out of my home to find places with a high-speed internet connection at my home to resolve the internet connection problem in the online class. And sometimes it just needs me to be a bit more patient, waiting for the internet connection to resolve again. Thank you so much. To you back, Ms. Moderator.
Thank you, Ms. Shahira. So, Ms. Ifa, what about you? What are the solutions you take to deal with the challenges you have?
Thank you, Ms. Ashikin. As I have shared before about how I felt about my experience during online classes, so the main problem I faced was with time management. There are several methods that I tried to do to make me more aware of my time usage. At first, I tried to make a schedule for me to join my classes and do my own revisions. And I also set part the time to finish my assignments. But then I sometimes do lose my track of time and did not manage to follow them consistently. But then I practice myself into recording my activities daily in my journals and also set some important reminders with alarms in my mobile phone. This made me more aware of my time usage around the schedules of online learnings, and I managed to also spend a reasonable amount of time with my family and catch up with my friends via online. Overall, I can see that it was a good progress. Back to you, Ms. Moderator.
Thank you, Ms. Ifa, for your sharing. I am sure, as a first year student, that you have no choice but to study online. Both of you must have learned a lot of things in your first year of your study. Ms. Shahira, do you mind if you share about it?
Thank you. One thing I've learned from online learning is that I have to get in contact with my lecturers if I have any questions. With everything being online and digital, ideas might get lost, especially when you can express them face to face. My advice is that if you have any questions, do not be afraid to ask your professors. I believe they will be more than happy to clarify things for their students. Use them as an additional resource as they are one. Other than that, I created my own designated study space. This is important to make sure that I always maintain focus and motivated towards my study tasks and assignments. For me, it is sitting at my desk rather than staying curled up in bed. While being wrapped up in my blankets is comfortable, I feel that I can be more productive sitting at my desk.
Thank you, Ms. Shahira, for the sharing. Let's move to Ms. Ifa. How about you share yours too?
Thank you, Ms. Moderator. From a lot of negative experience that people have, there must be something positive that happens somewhere along the line. From this experience, I can say that I learned a lot of things. Some of them, I learned a lot more about visual and computer skills, such as coding, using Excel, using words, and a lot more engaging and practical applications. And there is a lot more knowledge that I can apply in my online learning, which somehow made me more interested in attending online courses. From a lot of time that I spent online, I also get a wider perspective on things that are happening around the country and also the globe, since the internet helps us get to catch up with the current news that we have to adapt in our academics and learnings.
Thank you, Ms. Ifa. So, Ms. Shahira, anything you want to add to conclude our discussion today?
Thank you, Ms. Moderator. For my conclusion, I believe that online learning has both good and bad impacts on students and lecturers themselves. At the end of the day, it depends on us how well we overcome the challenges of studying online outside of campus and not be able to attend face-to-face classes. Due to this pandemic situation, whether we want it or not, we have to do online learning. That's all from me today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shahira. We move to our last panelist, Ms. Ifa. Do you have anything to conclude?
Thank you, Ms. Moderator. To sum from what I have shared before, there is always a silver lining behind every cloud where we can see how this pandemic mostly affects us in a negative way. All in all, what is the most important is that we keep up our spirit to survive in our online learning. I think that's all for my conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you to all panelists for their sharing today. We have finally come to the end of our forum where we share experience as a first year student during pandemic and as well as knowledge learned during first year. That's it from us.